laughed at him for taking the bus to work. His look of pure disgust ended us right there. Hello, Reddits. My name is Amelia, and I'm an unmarried 35-year-old woman. Well, my wedding is in 2 weeks, and I'm supposed to be the happiest bride because I'm finally getting married after all these years, but I'm not. In fact, my fiancé ended things with me a few days ago, and I, for some sick reason, want to desperately believe that I might still have a shot with him. I mean, I've tried all I can to apologize, but Sam does not even want to hear me out. I would have involved our family and friends, but they cannot find out what I did because that will ruin everything, more than it has already been ruined. I caused everything, and Sam has every right to do away with me. But I really cannot live without Sam because I love him, and I know what I did was wrong. I still cannot afford to lose him. Sam must have been very patient despite finding out about my sin, and I had made it worse by taunting him on something as silly as a bus ride. But it had honestly been a silly mistake, and I guess I managed to ruin everything. I laughed at him for taking the bus to work. His look of pure disgust ended us right there. He didn't have to say anything else. I knew right from the way he just looked at me that he knew everything I was doing and that he was done with me. I cheated, and Sam found out. How? I don't even know. But all I knew at that moment when he looked at me that way was that he found out about the affair, and now he wants nothing to do with me. Before you go all judgy on me, let me explain everything. I've known Joel for many years now. Joel is the guy I had an affair with. Long, long ago before I met Sam. I grew up with Joel watching over me. I mean literally. Joel had been our friend from childhood, although way older than me. He was my elder sister and brother's friend. I am the last child of a family of 5. I have 2 siblings, a girl and a boy, twins, way older than I am. Apparently my parents had planned on only having 2 kids, and when they gave birth to their first kids, and they turned out to be twins, they never planned for more. I had been a surprise baby. Apparently my mom was 6 months pregnant when she realized she actually was pregnant. She thought she was only adding weight, and since she had no morning sickness or all of the other stuff that came with being pregnant, she didn't know she was pregnant until she had to visit the hospital for a checkup. So my siblings are about 8 years older than me and hence very protective of me. I was treated like an egg growing up, and they still do to date. Except I don't expect such treatment ever again if they find out what I did. Well, as I wrote, my siblings were very protective of me, especially my older brother, who was protective of both of his girls. Because of how protective of me my brother was, it kind of extended to his best friend Joel, who treated me like a kid, I mean literally. He treated me like some child who didn't know her right from wrong most of the time. At first, as a child, I liked it. I liked having 2 older brothers, and I even bragged about it to my little friends. But as I grew up, I started to like Joel a little more than just being my sibling's friend, and he hung out mostly at our place. Joel came from a kind of dysfunctional family, so our place was sort of a haven for him. His father and his mother were always fighting, and eventually they got into a really messy divorce because they were fighting for the custody of Joel. So for the longest time, Joel would hang out at our place and sometimes sleep over when it was too late to go back home. I started to seek his attention as a girl, not just as his friend's sister. He paid no attention to me despite everything I did, and it didn't help matters that I was not exactly curvy or fine as the other girls he dated were. I had my hair in pigtails all the time, and my freckles were splashed all over my face. I had very late growth of my curves too, so everything added up to the reasons why Joel kept rejecting me. Eventually, Joel's mother won the case, and she got custody of the child. She decided to move away to another different state entirely. So we lost contact with Joel. Well, I did, my siblings didn't. At first, I heard from him from my siblings, but eventually they began to suspect I had an ulterior motive because of my curiosity about how he was doing, so I stopped asking. In fact, I forgot all about Joel for a while, and I moved on from him. I was in my final year of high school when I started growing curves in all the right places, and I had boys obsessing over me. It was really nice, and it made everything easier to forget about Joel. My first boyfriend was in high school, and his name is Adam. I chose to date Adam out of the other guys asking me to be their girlfriend because he was so similar to Joel. He was from a dysfunctional family as well, and he had the same build and hair color as Joel. I liked him instantly, and he only needed to ask me once before I agreed to be his girlfriend. But then, even though he was similar to Joel, he wasn't Joel, so I ended things a few months after. Although he was my first, sexually, I never felt satisfied any time we had sex, maybe because he just wasn't who I wanted him to be. The second guy I dated was in my first year of university, Ryan. Ryan had been one sophomore and very popular too, especially amongst the girls. He noticed me amongst my friends and had called me out, and from then on, I gained a bit of fame as the girl Ryan was interested in. Ryan and I dated for a bit, and to be honest, I dated him because he was also similar to Joel. But eventually, I found out that he was cheating on me with 2 other girls, so I ended things with him and decided to just be alone. I knew I couldn't just get over Joel, so I decided to just focus on my academics. But then Joel somehow came into the picture again. He got a job close to where I schooled, so he moved to the town where I was. He had quit his former job for some unknown reasons, which I never got to find out. But I was so happy when he moved around town, because it meant I got to finally get him to notice me. Joel hadn't seen me before that time for about 4 years, so he didn't know how well I had grown. It had been my older brother that told him I schooled in that town, and that he should watch out for me. Well, let's just say he watched out for me, but in an entirely different way. When Joel and I met for the first time after those 4 years, he was so surprised to see how well I've grown, and I could literally see the lust in his eyes for me. I played my games well, of course, and 2 months later, Joel and I started dating. I can't exactly call what we were doing dating because Joel never asked me out properly, and he also made me swear that I would keep the whole thing going on between us, especially around my siblings. Whenever my siblings came visiting, Joel pretended that there was nothing going on between us, and he would make sure that we didn't go near each other at all. But at night, when everyone was asleep, he'd come around and we would have sex, and he would sneak back into his room in the wee hours of the morning and pretend like everything was all right with the world again. We continued all this for 1.5 years until I heard the most shocking news of my life, and it had been a public announcement, in fact. I had not even been given time to process exactly what it was. Everything just happened so fast it was almost shocking. My family hosted a party that day. It was a ritual. We hosted the party every year, one particular time, mid-year, and it was always so big. My parents loved parties, and they, therefore, always made sure theirs was the biggest and most talked about, especially my mom. So, as usual, we were preparing for the party, and luckily it was during the break in school, so I had time to go home and help with the preparations. Not that I did much, but my mom, just having a full house, was always so happy. My siblings were also around, and Joel had said he would come a day before the party because he had to take time off work. I didn't even suspect a thing, but thinking back now, I think it was because he didn't want to come along with me to avoid suspicion. I noticed my sister being giddy all around the house, and she was talking about a major announcement she would share at the party. In fact, my mom was apparently in on the plan because they talked about the party and how the whole announcement was going to go. I knew it had something to do with her mysterious boyfriend. My sister had a boyfriend who she obviously adored, and according to her, he adored her too, but I never saw him once before. She would refuse to show me his picture or tell me his name or even what he did. All I knew was that my sister had a boyfriend and that was all, so I thought the whole excitement was probably because she was finally introducing her mysterious boyfriend to us, so I didn't think much of it. Even my older brother had not even been freaked. I knew he knew who she was dating, but he was obviously sworn to secrecy by his twin sister. An oath that I never could come in between, no matter how hard I tried. They had this thing that they do. Once they told each other secrets and didn't want anyone else in on it, they called it twin oath. Once they swore by it, not even my mom could get them to fess up about anything, even if they ended up being punished for it. So the day before the party, Joel arrived, but instead of staying in our house as planned, he had stayed in a hotel, and I thought maybe he wanted to respect boundaries as an adult now, so I had not questioned his decision. The day of the party came and everything was going smoothly. In fact, I was even happy because I got to meet a lot of my friends that I had not seen since graduation from high school, and then I met new people who were very interesting to talk to. The party was usually an open party. That is, my mom allowed us to invite whoever we wanted to the party, so long as we didn't invite people she wouldn't want there. So I had invited all my friends, and seeing them, catching up had been nice. Halfway through the party, my sister grabbed the microphone and then clinked her glasses to get everyone's attention. I knew whatever she had planned was about to unfold, so I just watched. Surprisingly, Joel had gone to stand next to her, and I was still wondering why when I saw Joel peck my sister. Not on the forehead or on the cheek like he usually does, but on the lips. I was so shocked and full of questions, and all had been answered when my sister announced that they were getting married. I couldn't stand everything anymore, so I just ran away from there. The claps, the whistles, and the congratulations flying all around the party were pretty deafening. I couldn't stay any longer, so I just had to run. I left. I packed my bags and left that night back to school. My family kept calling, worried about me, but I didn't reply to any of them. I was so hurt, so I just went back to my room in school to cry my eyes out. There was no one I could tell because no one knew anything about what was going on between Joel and me. So I kept all the pain and torture to myself. When Joel came back to town, he avoided me for a while, and it was easy because he had the excuse of work. Eventually, he stopped avoiding me and had told me that my sister was actually pregnant with his child, and it had been a drunken night mistake, but now he had to marry her to take responsibility for their baby. I couldn't believe it, because knowing my sister as well as I did, she never would submit a child to an arranged marriage because she adores our parents' love story. My parents, even now being old and all, still love each other and behave like teenagers around each other. They married for love and are still in love until now. My sister had always said that she wanted our parents' type of relationship and would never settle for anything less. The fact that Joel was saying they were settling because of the baby, I knew he was lying. Also, my elder sister had been talking about her mysterious boyfriend for the longest time, so after connecting the dots, I realized they've been together for well over 2 years. I couldn't exactly go to my sister with the news that I was sleeping with her boyfriend who lied to me about their relationship. It would definitely ruin my relationship with my family, especially my sister, and I didn't want that, so I just kept quiet about the whole thing, kept it to myself, and I avoided him from that day. He got married to my sister, and surprisingly, it had been a quiet wedding instead of the elaborate one that I had expected of them. It had probably been because of the pregnancy, but then everyone had been happy, even my overprotective elder brother, who had seemed like he was never going to let his twin sister go, had been very happy. My parents and everyone else there were all happy too, except me. I was the only unhappy one, and nobody could even understand my pain. Even when my sister gave birth to her first baby, I had made up some excuse so I didn't have to go, although I sent money regularly to my sister for the baby. I know my sister had enough funds to take care of her child, but I just wanted to do auntie duties. But in my attempt to avoid Joel, I missed out on my nephew's growth, but I just didn't want anything to do with him, especially since he was trying to get on my good side. Most family events I always ensured to stick to my elder brother, so I didn't have to talk to him. Although, to be honest, he didn't exactly care much that I was there. He was happy playing happy family with my elder sister, and it pained me, but I couldn't do anything about it. Snitching on him meant I got to lose the people I loved, and I wasn't about to sacrifice that for him. I decided never to give anyone a chance, especially someone who looked anything like Joel, and I kept that promise for a long time until I met Sam. Sam had been a friend of mine. We had a mutual friend. Her name is Sandra. Sandra was a hopeless romantic, and so she was always trying to match people up, even though her own love life was not even close to being romantic. So she had forced me to go on a blind date to meet her friend, who was a guy, obviously, and that guy had turned out to be Sam. I went on that date with little or no motivation of actually getting to know someone, but by the end of the night I was laughing so hard, I almost wet my panties. Sam had been the funniest guy I had ever met in my life. He made silly jokes, and he was also very gentlemanly. He made sure I was comfortable all through the evening, and he asked me what I wanted for food. Instead of being all egoist and just ordering for me, he had allowed me to order even for both of us. It was so nice, and the fact that he was nothing like Joel pleased me a whole lot, especially after I got to know him more. He was, and still is, the exact opposite of Joel. It didn't even take that long to fall in love with Sam. He made it so easy, and by the end of 2 months of friendship, we started dating, and I had been the one to ask him to be my boyfriend instead of it being the other way around. Sam and I started dating, and it was really fun for me. I loved the way he never seemed to rush into anything without consulting me. He had always treated me like I was his world, and I love him the most for it. When I told my sister about my relationship, she was quite happy for me, and she probably had told her husband about it because he had texted me and asked if I was sure I was matured enough to enter into a relationship. I only deleted the text and proceeded to ignore it and continued with my life. I wasn't about to let him ruin what I had with Sam. Although I never told Sam anything about Joel, I decided that he was going to be my secret to the grave, my mistake and my regret. I felt there was no need to tell Sam about my dirty little secret, so I kept it to myself and never said anything about it. Sam and I were 2 years into our relationship when he proposed to me. I was just the happiest girl on earth because it was my best moment and the day I had been waiting for the longest time. Before the time Sam proposed to me, we had another family event as we usually did each year, and because I had avoided going at all costs the previous year, I was more than happy to go because I got to go with Sam. I went a week prior to the party to help my mom with the preparations, but Sam couldn't come with me because of work, so he came a day prior to the party. I went home, and unfortunately, Joel was there, and apparently didn't have any job anymore because he was fired for some misconduct. So literally, my sister was the one paying the bills. When I got home, my sister had gone on a business trip, and their kids were mostly always with their grandmother when they weren't in school. My mom, their grandmother, had a habit of taking them around, including when she was going to the supermarket. So basically, the day I arrived, I met only Joel around, and he made sure to use that opportunity to taunt me and disturb me against my will. Well, that's a lie. My will was perfectly in line with everything he was saying. Knowing I was enjoying his small talk, he started flirting with me, and I guess I enjoyed the affection a little more than I expected. When he realized that my mom was already around with his kids, he quickly left me alone and went back into the house without even so much as a proper bye. I guess he didn't want to be seen talking to me so no one would suspect anything. That evening, for some reason, I sat beside Joel for dinner, and he had taken advantage of that fact. He ate with one hand and touched my leg under the table, tentatively at first, but when he realized I wasn't complaining, he became bolder and slid it right past my thigh to my female genital organ. I moaned out loud, and I had to pretend that I was savoring the food and not because of what was going on under the table. He stopped the whole thing and focused on his food, like he had not done something bad. Then, unluckily again, I was left alone in the entire house with Joel, and that was when it had happened for the first time after the previous times we were together. My mom had gone to get some things for the party, and her grandbabies, of course, had gone with her. My dad had gone to play golf with his friend like he usually did, so I really was home alone with Joel. He came to my room, and he had just started a conversation about our past, going on and about how he misses me, and how he's had to endure the marriage with my sister for the kids' sake. Joel had managed to convince me to try going back to old times, and I had stupidly agreed. Now, as I write this, I realize just how stupid that my careless decision was made out of. I don't even know how to describe my actions at that point, but all I knew was that I just did some horrible things. When Sam came around for the party a day prior to the party as planned, I started to behave oddly around him. Maybe because of the fact that I literally had an affair with my sister's husband 2 days before he came around, and I felt really guilty. Joel, on the other hand, was not feeling any sort of way because he kept giving me some weird eye contacts and stares when he was sure no one was looking except me. It was hard keeping things casual whenever we were around people because Joel made it hard to do so. He would text me to meet him somewhere private in the house when he was sure everyone was sleeping just so we could have sex. I wouldn't lie, it was kind of thrilling. Sneaking around like a bunch of teenagers that shouldn't be caught doing drugs. Only this time, We were adults, and we couldn't be caught together having sex because it would ruin the whole family. I tried so hard to keep things inside the box, and luckily for me, no one suspected a thing, even after the whole party. I thought sex with Joel at the whole event had been a one-time thing, and that we weren't going to get together again because it was almost impossible to. But Joel made it very possible. He would text me random addresses of some weird places he wanted us to meet, and when we actually did meet, we would have sex. This continued for a while, and I guess Sam began to suspect my irregular movements, especially because I was being shady about everything. So I started downplaying the whole thing with Joel, but that proved difficult, especially because Joel wanted no excuses. If he wanted me somewhere and had texted me the address, he would start texting or calling repeatedly just to get me to answer. One time, Sam had picked up my call, and Joel had ranted about me being late and that he had to be home quicker than he expected. I lied to Sam that he wanted to meet up to plan my sister's birthday. Whether or not he believed me, he said nothing again after it, and that was it. Perhaps I should have asked and even known that Sam suspected my affair with Joel, but I was too paranoid trying to keep both relationships with one proving more difficult than was necessary. Soon after that, Sam had asked me to marry him, and I was so happy that day, and I had of course said yes immediately. I was finally getting married, and when I told my family, everyone was happy, except of course Joel. He had asked me severally if I was sure I wanted to get married to Sam, but I knew it wasn't my choice of life partner that bothered him. It was because of the fact that he wouldn't get as much access to me as he did before, especially if I was married. Well, I didn't mind, so I just ignored him and started preparations for my wedding. Sam wanted us to get married within 3 months. I wanted us to be married in 1 month, and when we argued about it, Sam had finally caved into my wishes, which made me very happy. But my wedding preparations had gone cold 2 weeks before my wedding because of everything that had happened. I might not have mentioned before in this write-up that I have never had to ride a bus in my life growing up. I didn't even know what it felt like. You must have guessed from the parties I mentioned that my family threw every year that we are quite comfortable, and my parents had always thrived for our comfort, including providing us with a driver who took us anywhere whenever we were home. And even when I left for the university, I had my own car, which my parents had purchased for me when I got admitted into the school. So basically, I had never had to take a public bus anywhere before, so I had found the situation really funny when Sam had told me that day that he took a public bus to work. But what I did not know was that I was digging my own grave. Looking back now, I realized that I had every opportunity to know that Sam knew about my affair with Joel and was just keeping quiet about it. I mean, the day before that dreadful day, he had asked me what I thought about cheating partners, and I had boldly told him that I would never tolerate cheating, especially from my spouse. I had even been extra by being very dramatic in my response to his question. In my defense, I was trying not to be jittery so he wouldn't notice my fear when he asked the question, but then again, I should have noticed. Sam never did things randomly. He loved doing things in a systematic order, and that had always been one of the factual things I love about him. 4 days before that day, too, Sam and I had gotten into a big fight. He didn't want me to go out, and I insisted. I wanted to remind him of the fact that we clearly weren't married yet, and that even if we were, he wouldn't infringe on my movements. Well, that day, Joel had called and asked that we meet up in another random hotel, and I had wanted to see him too. I ended things with Joel that evening. I didn't want anything to jeopardize what I had with Sam, especially after our wedding. But I guess I was too late anyways. So when Sam had insisted I didn't go out, he had made a statement that should have ticked a button in my head, but I was too silly not to have noticed. He had said he was giving me a last chance if only I could just not step out. At that point, all my head processed was rebellion. I thought he wanted to start being controlling, and because I wasn't exactly a fan of being ordered around, I took it to mean that. I had even shouted at him and left the house, only to return very late at night because Joel was being stubborn about the never having sex thing again. He felt that we could continue even when I got married, and I had told him it wasn't possible, and that didn't exactly sit well with him. The reason I ended things with him was not only because of my wedding with Sam, but also because of my sister. She started to suspect her husband of having shady movements, and she had told me about it. In her words, she was sure he was having an affair, but she didn't want to accuse him outrightly without having some form of evidence. I knew how much trouble it would cause if my sister found out exactly who it was that her husband was cheating on her with. So I ended things with Joel, thinking I had swept everything under the rug and that everything was all right with the world again. Boy, was I wrong? Because somehow Sam had found out about my affair, and that day when I had stupidly laughed at him for taking a bus to work had been the last straw. The look of disgust in his eyes when he stared at me just can't leave my mind. He knew. I know he knew. No words needed to have been said. He hadn't needed to accuse me for me to know that he just knew. He knew my sin, and he just turned around and left me without giving me the chance to apologize or beg for forgiveness. Please, guys, I know I really messed up, and that's why I'm confessing all of my sins so you guys could help me. I really cannot lose Sam. Our wedding is in 2 weeks, guys. Please, I love him. I really, really do. What do I do? Update. Hello, Reddits. It's so sad. It's very sad how everything had eventually panned out. If a person was horrible or miserable, then I probably am that. My wedding is today, actually. Actually, technically, there's no wedding anymore. Everything is totally ruined. No scratch. I ruined everything. I cannot have imagined a pain much worse than this. It is almost as painful as a physical sore. I'm sure even more than... Living with the consequences of my actions is sure as hell not very nice. I hate myself right now. What was I thinking? That I could eat my cake and still have it? Obviously, you guys don't think so either, judging from your not-so-nice adjectives you've used in comparison to me. You don't deserve anyone on your side. You do not deserve forgiveness, and I hope you rot in the deepest part of hell. You're worse than a beast, and I hope Sam finds someone better. You are ridiculous coming here to beg for help when you know all you should be getting are prison clothes because of the extent of your sins. And so on. Others more insulting and more colorful than this one I've picked out. Your words, your colorful insults have made me realize one bit of truth. I'm not worthy of forgiveness. I should probably be damned for even thinking about it. I should have never even come here to talk. I should have just kept quiet and suffered in silence. But then I was desperate for anything other than everything I've tried that would get Sam to forgive me. But then all I've gotten is more reproach and more people to hate me. I cannot tell you guys how alone I am in this world. My parents and siblings want absolutely nothing to do with me. My sister and her husband are in the middle of a divorce and child custody lawsuit, and I'm sure my sister is winning because Joel apparently has nothing to his name, and the lawsuit is sucking him dry, especially going up against my rich parents who want nothing other than getting their daughters and grandkids out of the marriage. Yes, they found out, and now they want absolutely nothing to do with a betrayal like me. So now today, which is supposed to be the happiest day of my life, happens to be the saddest, and it is all totally my fault. Sam must hate me so much. The way he had looked at me that day, which was the very last day I heard from him, still sticks to my head and refuses to leave. It haunts my sleep, and when I wake up, my head just keeps reminding me like a broken recorder just tuned to replay. I'm a sinner and will forever pay for my sins. Update. Hello, Reddits. It's me again. This is my last post here, and I just wanted to say thank you. No, not for the insults and backlashing comments, even though I deserve that, but for at least reading my post. I know how much you guys hate me, and so don't worry. I'll be out of your hair soon. Loneliness must be me. Or is it I am the key definition of loneliness? You guys reading and commenting on my post, no matter how insulting at least, is a far cry from how dreadful my reality is. I have literally no one on my side, and no one, I mean absolutely no one, to talk to about these feelings. Well, the update would be, you know how people say things got better with time and that you just needed to just breathe through it? It would get easier? Well, they lied, at least in my case. Things have not gotten any better since the last time I posted here, but rather it had become worse. You would wonder what could be worse than a girl ousted by her family and fiancé, but then again, nothing prepares you for the darkness. The darkness that has become like a permanent part of my life. My life feels so bleak and blank, like an empty apartment abandoned for years, and then it starts to wear out and break during various conditions. The good thing is, a house can be restructured and remodeled to look amazing again. But my life? There's nothing I can do about this situation. I've lost everything. Sam was the best man for me, and yet I lost him because of my own foolishness and stupidity. He loved me very much, and yet all I did throughout the course of the relationship was show him how unworthy of his love I was. And eventually, I ended up messing up the one best thing I should have had to treasure throughout my lifespan. Wishing I could undo this is probably a waste of wishing, because I'm sure no fairy godmother would grant me my wishes. They'd probably think I deserve this life I've got now, and I probably do. Scratch that. I actually do deserve the life I have now. Dark, empty, and no future. Just a long, long path with promises of pain and sorrow. Saying sorry would probably not cut it. Not now, not ever. I've lost the best part of me, and I will forever be boggled by that fact. Sad how I eventually ended up messing my own life up. No friends, no family, and most importantly, no Sam. Just me and my whole baggages of pains. Oh well, I'm sure if there's anything you guys should learn, it is that it never pays to be stupid as I was. If you need a reason not to act as stupidly as I have done, then come along. I'd give you a lesson straight out of my horrible life decision that had now led to a whole lifetime of loneliness book. Goodbye, guys, and thanks.